Okay, Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 5, Episode 10. This episode picks up where we left off last week after the fight. So the fight that I'm speaking of is between Monique and Candaice. So all season, they've been having some kind of contentious relationship about a he said, she said situation. Turns out that there were some rumors that Monique had been cheating on her husband. Candaice apparently befriended Charisse who was from seasons, I think, 1 and 2. And Charisse was spreading the rumor. So it's a situation where Monique is upset with Candaice because of her affiliation with Charisse, who she's really mad at, but Charisse is not in the show anymore. So she's taking out all of her aggression on Candaice. It all culminated with the fight last week at the wine cellar or the wine, wherever they were. They were doing some kind of wine tasting. I have said, and there's been a lot of back and forth about who was wrong. And as I watched it, my first thought that was Monique was 100% wrong. She instigated it. She started flipping Candaice's hair. She threatened to drag her and all types of stuff. And she's the one who grabbed her hair and basically just punched her and then tried to chase her later on. So then I watched somebody else's tape and they were saying, well, maybe Candaice has some culpability because she was taunting her. After I watched that, I said, you know what? She did. There was a lot of back and forth. Candaice was taunting her and said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? However, I think Candaice was tipsy. I think she admitted to being tipsy. I mean, they were doing a wine tasting. And I think that Candaice had apologized to Monique several times in the last couple of episodes. So I don't think that Candaice was being an antagonist. I don't think she wanted any smoke. I think she just, at that moment, was probably tired of constantly apologizing to her. And Monique was just still being an asshole about it. And then Candaice had a couple of drinks in her. And, you know, we've all been there before. You start drinking, you start getting, you know, big talk, and things escalate. Unfortunately, Candaice caused the worst of it because Monique did grab her hair, bent her over, and put her in a position where she couldn't really fight back. So that's what happened last week. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt on all of the blogs and social media and everything about who was wrong, who was right. There's a bunch of people who definitely support Monique and say that Candaice instigated it and deserved it. And then there's people who support Candaice and say that Monique has some misdirected anger and she was taking it out on Candaice. And that's kind of where I stand. I definitely think they both played their part in that moment. But if I had to say somebody was wrong, I would definitely say it was Monique because she instigated it. So we move into this week's episode, and now it looks like all of the ladies are going to get together to discuss it. And apparently they all decide to go to Karen's house because she's the only person who seems to be neutral in this. So she has everybody over to the house. Actually, Monique called for that because she wanted an opportunity to talk to everybody. Everybody except for Candaice, obviously. I guess it's still too fresh for Candaice to be there. So they all come together. Really good conversations were had, and I'm not really surprised at the outcome. It did seem like moving into this conversation that they were on Candaice's side, or they were going to take Monique to task for her behavior. You kind of got that sense going into it. Ashley and Karen seem to be the most neutral. And we know the green-eyed genies were going to go all the way in because they've seemed to have had it in for Monique for a long time. So that's essentially what happened. But let's back up a little bit about what all of the steps that happened before they actually sat down together and discussed the events. First of all, Giselle shows up with a bodyguard. I knew she was extra. I didn't expect the bodyguard. It was just way too much. It seemed like a Kenya Moore from Real Housewives of Atlanta move. Who are you afraid of? Monique did not put her hands on you. She didn't threaten you. What do you really think is going to happen in Karen's house? Giselle, just being messy Giselle, shows up with a bodyguard and says something to the effect of, you know, I don't know what she's capable of, so I have protection with me. So that was number one. Number two, Ashley shows up, no surprise, with her baby again. Now, I get it. You're a new mother. You don't want to be apart from your baby. But come on. It's enough already. I think he's adorable. I'm happy for her, but I've seen enough of this baby this season already. You're at work. At the end of the day, this is work for you. You're getting a check for being there. You don't bring your kids to work. So why is this child with you? And then for you to come to the front door talking about, I couldn't find a babysitter. Really? You're working, you know, and you're only working, and I'm not saying she doesn't do other things, but as far as the show is concerned, you know, you're taping, I don't know, however, whatever your minimum commitment of episodes is. So that's all slated out. So this whole I couldn't find a babysitter thing, it's just, I'm over it. Wendy, who just had a baby as well, and her baby's actually younger than Ashley's, she showed up without a baby. She was able to find a sitter. And that woman has several jobs, but that's neither here nor there. So these two, when they showed up, it bared attention because it just, you know, Ashley with the baby, Giselle with the security guard. I can't. So the rest of the ladies show up. Monique, of course, shows up last. She goes into this whole thing about, you know, she got triggered and she blacked out, and nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. And nobody believes it because there's footage of you explaining to other people after the fact what happened. So if you blacked out, you would not remember these things. You were telling the producer on site what happened. You told Chris what happened. Apparently you've been in the blogs and on social media telling people what happened. So come on with the, you blacked out. It's just such a lazy, easy excuse. And I don't believe it. I don't buy it. None of the ladies bought it either. And Giselle's funny because she was taking notes while Monique was talking. She pulled out her cell phone and was like, I need to take notes so that I can remember what I have to say when it's my turn to talk, which was shady, but valid. I mean, if somebody's talking and you want to give them an opportunity to speak, you don't want to interrupt. So you want to make sure that you can make note of everything that you have to say. So Giselle was taking notes. When Monique was done, Robin, you know, I've had a love-hate relationship with Robin this season. I like her. I genuinely like her. I think she's a good person. I love her and Juan together. I love, you know, her boys and her storyline. I mean, that whole, you know, riches to rags story is very, it touches you, and you feel like you can relate to them, and you kind of, not say feel sorry for them, but, you know, you feel some empathy towards their situation. And so I like her. This season has been a little bit of a challenge, though, because I think she's kind of fallen into that mean girl thing with Giselle, where she's kind of jumping on the bandwagon and just being a little bit of a bully, and I don't really love it. And I don't think that that's who Robin is. But in this case, Robin was on point. She made some really valid points. Monique had said that she was triggered because somebody threw wine in her face, and then, you know, her face was cut or whatever. You know, when you watch the footage, it's kind of hard to catch simply because it happened so quickly and it was so much going on. But Robin made a really good point, and I hadn't noticed that. The wine that splashed in Monique's face was red wine. Candaice had a glass of white wine in her hand. So the wine that was thrown in Monique's face did not come from Candaice. So now for you to say that that's what did it and you were defending yourself, it's sketchy because she didn't throw wine in your face. And I didn't believe she had either, because I don't think Candaice felt a real threat from her, and I don't think Candaice expected it to escalate that way. So I don't think Candaice was in the mode of, let me hit her before she hits me. You had 7 women standing at a table all drinking wine. You reached over and you grabbed her hair. The melee commenced. The wine could have came from anybody. You know, Wendy was trying to stop it. Karen tried to stop it. We don't know where that wine came from, but we know where it didn't come from, and it did not come from Ashley's glass. Very good point, Robin. I'm so proud. I'm so happy that she brought that up, because I was a little conflicted, and I was like, did she really instigate it? Did she throw the glass at her? And she didn't. The facts are just what they are. So the fact that Monique's story is already sketchy, that right there just lends to the credibility of where Candaice is coming from, that she was essentially attacked. And for that, Monique is wrong. She's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Another good point that was made, and ironically, it was made by Giselle, who I take everything she says with a grain of salt because, you know, I think she's just so shady. She said that, you know, Monique made a comment saying, this is not who I am. That's not who I am. Giselle went back through the tapes and she said, really? Because there's been several times where you threaten people physically. And the producers are so, I don't know if they're shady or if they're just on it, but they pulled up the evidence. In season 1, she threatened to drag Giselle. In season 2, she threatened to hit Robin with her umbrella. In season 3, she threatened to drag Candaice when she was pregnant. I mean, that's 3 times caught on camera that you have threatened people physically. Now, it could be all talk. We all know people who like to talk crap because they know they'll never be tested and nobody could ever call them on it. But when you threaten people physically and then you physically attack people, well, the writing is on the wall, and it's not far-fetched for people to think that you might have a propensity to be violent. So Monique, you know, you kind of get lost there too. I mean, I have to give 2 checks to that side of the team, the wine and your history. Right now, it looks like you just, you know, trying to save face. So, trying to think what else happened. Wendy, I'm a huge fan of Wendy. I think she's often the smartest one in the room. And I don't even mean from an academic point of view. Obviously, the woman is very well educated, but she's just from a logical, sensible, pragmatic point of view. She's very intelligent. She's a high emotional intelligence. She can scan the room. She can put the pieces together. And I appreciate that because, you know, in these shows, you tend to miss that element. There's usually a lot of just emotions, people who are just strong and wrong, people who've already chosen sides before the facts come out. And I like the fact that Wendy, somebody who is pretty neutral, she's new to the group, and she's observant and she sees things for what they are. So she had some things to say. You know, she kind of called Monique on her stuff where, you know, Monique said, you know, something about being remorseful, and Wendy was trying to draw a line in the sand between regretting something and being remorseful or being embarrassed or something. I can't remember the exact words she used, but essentially it was something along the lines of like, you're not remorseful because you don't regret doing it. You're just embarrassed that you did, and you're embarrassed at the backlash that you're getting because of what you did. And those are 2 different things. I appreciated that she brought that up and that, you know, she kind of, you know, put it out there. So let's all be clear. Let's be clear about the words that we're using and exactly what we mean in this. Because I think what Monique is trying to do is damage control, and she's trying to clean up her image. You know, Chris is embarrassed. Her husband, Chris, is clearly embarrassed about this. He said it last week. I think he even said it this week. And it doesn't feel like Monique is embarrassed, and it feels like she's only embarrassed maybe because Chris is embarrassed or because she's gotten some negative backlash. But that's not enough. You should be embarrassed because you're a grown-ass woman and you behave poorly. And it is what it is, and now you just have to deal with the consequences of it. So trying now to, you know, change the narrative and restructure the story, it's just too late. Everybody has seen it. But I do appreciate the fact that she called everybody together to talk about it and to say her piece, because that's the mature thing to do. Now, I don't know if this was Bravo prompting her to do it, because again, they have to talk about it because it happened, and it makes for good television. So I don't know if this was really her initiative or Bravo said, hey, we're going to get everybody together and Monique, you need to say something. I don't know, but I'm glad that she did, because it needed to be said. And I do agree that Candaice should not have been there because they are not ready for that yet. What else happened? Oh. So Giselle. You know, in seasons 1 through, what is it, season 5, I would say even like through last season, I liked Giselle. She's messy, but I thought she was funny. I thought she was harmless for the most part. I mean, she played her role. She was the villain. Every franchise has one. But the more I watch her, the more I am so turned off by her and how she moves and just the rhetoric. You know, for example, she sat here and said, you know, Monique, this is not how Black women behave. You know, trying to imply that Monique has done something to denigrate the image of the Black woman, and that's not how they operate, and as if Monique made them look bad. I agree, it was a bad look for Monique. But Giselle, that Black woman stuff, like, you're not the Black woman advocate you pretend to be. You are so messy. You know, the way you talk about people, I mean, they all talk about people, but the way you stir the pot, it seems hateful. It seems like you constantly want to damage people's lives, or you want to knock them off of their pedestal. And I can only imagine it's because you are just not a happy woman. Now, on the surface, your life looks good. I mean, you know, you're beautiful. You have 3 beautiful daughters. You know, you seem to have some means. You have some celebrity. You have a business. I mean, but I'm wise enough to know that all of that does not mean anything, that people have much more and are unhappy. But it's just so horrible the way that you manipulate these women. I mean, that fight last week, Giselle was really at the center of that. Giselle is the one who played both sides. You know, she went to Monique and told Monique that you know, and she instigated, well, why did Candaice invite Charisse? I didn't know they were friends. Like, she stirred that pot, and she's been doing it since season 1, and now it's kind of come to a head. It's bigger than just an argument. She instigated that. And so for her to sit here now and judge Monique so harshly and to talk all this about Black women, and it just doesn't seem genuine at all. And unless you are just blinded to Giselle, the average person can see through it. So I just, when I hear her say those things, I just can't. I can't with her. You know, and then I look at this situation with her and Jamal and those girls, and her, you know, her getting back with Jamal, it's just not real. I mean, it might be real. It might be, you know, but I don't think it's a real relationship, in that I don't believe the two of y'all, her and Jamal, have evolved so much since they've been divorced and are so much more mature now that they can give this relationship another shot, another legitimate shot. I think it's something that they're both doing in the meantime. I don't know if he's doing it because it's a celebrity for him. I mean, he is a celebrity in his own right, but I don't know if he's doing this because it looks good. He wants to portray himself as, you know, a good father and a good husband. And I feel personally that Giselle's believes that her stock is dropping. You know, she is a beautiful woman, but she's 50. And beautiful women are a dime a dozen. And I think that men who have dealt with Giselle probably are drawn in by the personality and the looks and everything, but maybe realize that the substance isn't there, and that's why they move on. And she's now in a place where she might be a little lonely, or she might feel like, this is the best I can do. He's my children. It's an easy sell, because he's the children of my father. Sorry. He's the father of my children. And, you know, he owes her in a sense because he's done her so dirty. So I'm imagining he'll probably give her whatever she wants. And they can play by her rules because, you know, he did her so wrong during their marriage. It just seems very contrived. Her daughters, I think they're 13 and 14. They're not here for it. I mean, those are young women. They are mature, but they're children at the end of the day. And even they are able to see through this, and they don't seem to be here for it. Her father's not here for it. In last week's episode, he had on a hot mic and he admitted that he didn't want to see them reunite because Jamal has all these random children. I don't know what Giselle's mom thinks, but I would venture to say she's probably on the same page with the girls and the father. It's just messy, and it's just, And I don't think it's going to go anywhere well. Like, I don't know that Jamal has changed, and, you know, it might just be, look, I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't seem genuine. Like Robin and Juan seem genuine. Like, they had their problems, they got divorced, but they seem like they truly love each other and they are willing to do the work to make it work. Jamal just seems like a slippery character, and Giselle is just another slippery character. I'm not here for it, and I don't see it going well. So we'll see what happens next year this time. So anyway, Giselle is just messy. And so her whole, you know, thing about Black woman, you know, that fell upon deaf ears. It was just it was an appropriate thing for her to say at the time. It was an easy thing for her to say at the time. It was an easy way for her to take jabs at Monique. But truth be told, you are not an example for Black women in a lot of different ways. So she needs to stop. What else happened? Ashley seemed forgiving. You know, she seemed like she could give Monique a pass, and she wants everybody to kind of get along, kumbaya. It could be, you know, she's still railing off the fact that she just had a baby, so she's happy. It could be because she's distracted by her husband's issues. I don't know, but, you know, but besides her, Karen was neutral. The rest of them weren't here for it. And to be honest, neither was I. I don't want to see Monique leave the show, but I think that's probably what's going to happen next. I think Chris runs the show in that household, and he had given Monique, you know, free reign to find her voice and do something. And, you know, it's her website or her business that she's running on the side and this show. But I think now she's, in a sense, proven that she's not responsible enough to do it. So he might, you know, pull back the reins on that. And I don't know that we're going to see her next season. And maybe that's for the best. Maybe she just needs to kind of just chill and just, you know, focus on being the businesswoman that she says that she wants to be. I mean, she does have 3 small children and that bird. So maybe that's what's best for Monique. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it looks like in the previews for the next couple of weeks that the husbands are starting to argue. I saw a clip where Ashley's husband, Michael, got into a little something with Candaice's husband, Chris. And I don't know if it came to blows, but I saw some kind of tension going on. So I think that's going to be interesting. Not that I want them in the fight, but I think it's just going to be interesting to see how that pans out. So that's it. That's all I have. It was a good episode. You know, it was just really based on that one conversation that they all had. I think, you know, there's still a lot yet to be seen, a lot more content. I don't know how far they are into the season. Well, this was episode 10, so I don't know how many they're filming this season, but it feels like it might be over soon. But Potomac does not disappoint. It's been really good up to now, and I think they are going to drive it home, and they are going to finish strong, and I'm here for it. So we'll talk next week and see what happens.